everyone. We are here live. This is a special Trash Talk episode here live at the Bird in the Book here in Maryville, Tennessee. I am Richard Yule, and this is my good pal,
Matthew Henry.
We are minus Jeff Lown tonight. He is on a special mission. He will be back eventually at probably next week, whenever you're watching this on Tingler or on YouTube. We have lots of options for this. But tonight is a very special Trash Talk Christmas party. So that's why we're here. We have a live audience for the first time. And for the first time, we have a special guest. We will announce that special guest right after we watch this trailer that special guest had a big part in.
Welcome to the shop of Joe Petto. Here, you'll find the most amazing gadgets on Earth. Each toy is unique.
What a terrible accident. Sarah, you think this is an accident? Look.
Each specially designed by the craftsman himself.
Fuck, where did all these toys come from?
Sarah, what do you know about that old guy from the toy store? I wonder if I told you he was arrested for maiming some kids several years ago.
What reason could he have to hurt innocent children?
Joe Petto always wanted a real boy.
Where's Derek? He took him.
Who took him? Where? Who?
The man from the toy store.
But he'll have to make what he can get.
All you need is a little of that, and a little of that, and a little of that.
From the producer of Bride of Reanimator.
I want my boy! What have you done with him?
I'm your son now, not him.
With special effects by Screaming Mad George Inc. of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. Comes the most incredible night yet. Mickey Rooney stars in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker.
Merry Christmas.
That's right. This franchise ended with The Toymaker, and I find it to be a very fun movie. One of the better ones out of all the Silent Nights, don't you think?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think Bloody Disgusting just did a big kind of article about the movie and how it's like this kind of semi-forgotten gem, but now we've recently had a re-release from Screen Factory, correct? Put out 4 and 5 together. Vestra, I'm sorry, put out 4 and 5 together. So
3, 4, and 5.
3, 4, and 5 all together. So you can kind of own like the trifecta of the last 3 films. And Part 5 is absolutely one of my favorite ones in the franchise. Definitely.
It is truly great, and we are blessed to know one of its stars. We met him at FrankenCon. That is a convention, me and Matthew and Corey, who is here. He didn't say anything, but he's here.
He said hello. He said hello.
And Brian was a guest there, and he's just a wonderful guy. And without further ado, let's bring him on.
Guys, give it up for Mr. Brian Bremer! That's my pro wrestling intro for the
I
day.
love it. That's why you're so successful, Matt. Hey, guys, how's everybody doing?
We're doing great, Brian. Thank you for taking time out. I see you have a holiday pumpkin head behind you.
Yes, Pumpkinhead is dressed for the holidays. Would like to say hello to everybody. Hello. Happy holidays from Pumpkinhead. I hope you're all ready for a warm and happy and wonderful holiday, and I'm really glad you guys are here. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is kind of unique. We've never done this live, so it's working out good so far. We've shown the trailer that gives everybody a little taste of what Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 has to offer, but how did that role come about? I know Brian Usna has something to do with that, and he kind of was big in your career early on. Yeah. So how did the role of Pino come along for you?
Well, that's a good question, Richard. You know, when I did that movie, I was in Los Angeles. I was a young actor. I was doing a lot of movies at the time, and I had done Society with Brian, and that's where I first met him. And I auditioned, but he asked me to come in and audition. And so basically I auditioned and I got the role. But I remember when I got the audition, I thought it was really fascinating and really fun, you know, to be able to play a non-human character is something that we don't often get the chance to do. But a non-human character who's also the killer in the movie, but also has a need, has a want. Like, it wasn't just like, I'm a killer. Like, he really was hurting. And the role, as it was written, you know, when he walks through the house and really wants to be the little boy, and he kind of inhabits his house in his bedroom that used to be his house. I thought the script was great. And I remember rehearsing for the audition, which I rarely did, and I should have done more. I actually took a broomstick and I put it down the back of my shirt and down through my blue jean pants leg so that I could kind of, you know, walk artificially, but then try to make that as real as possible. My best friend Heather and I, her aunt had a house in Maryville Canyon, and I went and rehearsed it with her. And I took her a great broomstick and I stuck it down my clothes, and I went through the scenes. And, you know, it was just, I was fascinated with the role from the very beginning. And then I went and I did the audition, and Brian was there, and eventually I got it. And Brian said the nicest thing. He said to one of the other producers, he said, "We always try to hire Brian for anything that we do," which is true. He actually brought me in for a lot of stuff. But I really love that role. So basically, to answer your question, it was an audition with lots of other guys. And I ended up
it's good to know
that was helpful.
So there was such controversy around the first Silent Night, Deadly Night film, and the parents were in uproar, and they even got a quote by Mickey Rooney, who was like, you know, "Oh, this is sacrilege," you know, they're turning Santa into a bad guy. And then all these years later, he ends up being a part of the fifth film. And we've heard so many legendary Hollywood stories about Mickey Rooney and the type of personality he was. So what was it like working with Mickey?
It was amazing. I mean, honestly, Matthew, when I got the role and realized Mickey Rooney was going to be in it, I mean, it's Mickey Rooney. And, you know, I haven't, and it's funny you said, and it was incredible. First of all, I remember that story about him coming out after the first movie, which is really funny. But there was no mention of that when we were on set. Like, he was 100% professional. He's an amazing actor, and he was an amazing person to work with. I have some pretty funny stories about him. I ended up doing most of my work with him. He was the most generous, gracious, wonderful guy. But it just shows you, you know, I mean, they paid him a lot of money to be there for a very little bit of time. So welcome to Hollywood, everybody. You know?
Well, and it's like, you know, as years pass by, it's, you know, everyone wants to be a part of a horror slasher film in one way or another.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, and Mickey was great, man. I mean, I knew who he was, obviously. I worked with some people early in my career who I really wasn't sure who they were until after I'd worked with them, because I was really young and I didn't know everything that I should have known about the people I was working with. But obviously, I knew who Mickey was. And he had just written a book called Life's Too Short. And my grandma was a huge Mickey Rooney fan, and he signed a book for me. I spent a lot of time in his trailer with his manager watching his late night talk show appearances. And and they'd sit there and watch him on Letterman from like the night before, and they'd be critiquing it and evaluating. And that was just a trip. That was insane. But he really took me under his wing. And the interesting thing about Mickey, I mean, he's a total professional. He's dead now, but he was a total professional. He never learned his lines. And that was interesting. Like with Pino, I was so into that role. It's probably one of the only roles that I've ever actually journaled. Like when I sat there on set out of character, I mean, I never was out of character. I actually sat and I journaled as Pino because I was so fascinated by playing this kind of artificial, non-human character. And I was really into it, man. I really prepared and I studied and I like learned my lines and I journaled. And Mickey's like, "Oh, I don't learn my lines." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It turns out he has had a photographic memory. So literally right before the scene, the second AD would give him the sides, the scene that we were about to do. He would look at it, put it down, and do the scene word for word because he had a photographic memory. Now, this man had done 177 films by the time I worked with him. 177 films. And he never learned his lines on any of them thanks to his photographic memory. And he said to me, you know, it's got to be fresh. It's got to be spontaneous. Film is very different from theater and other forms of acting where you have to rehearse and you have to, you do have to hit your marks and you have to rehearse in that way. But he always thought film should be very fresh and spontaneous, and that things would happen in those initial takes and those initial moments that you couldn't capture if you over-rehearsed it. So he didn't rehearse, which was really interesting. Now, I don't have a photographic memory, so I can't do that. I have to learn my lines. But he was just fascinating to work with, and a really, really sweet guy. So yeah, I know he had that kind of initial controversy about the first time tonight, but I never would have known it on set, and you never would have known. For him, this was maybe a film that, I don't know, you could say it was at the end of his career, and he could have not taken it as seriously. He took it 100% seriously. He said, you always value the work. You don't judge the work. You do the work that you've been hired to show up and do. So yeah, he was great. My only Mickey Rooney story is he was amazing and curmudgeon-y and weird and fun.
I was going to ask how the fight scene was, doing a fight scene with Mickey Rooney.
Well, so I know, Brian. I know this is Brian's favorite scene.
It's one of my favorite scenes from.
I have this clip, Brian. So we're all going to watch it. Okay.
Oh, good.
So everybody can see what we're talking about.
So I got.
She was going to call the police. Do you know what happened if she'd have done that, you stupid fool? Stupid independent, no! You're drunk! You're always drunk! Don't you turn your back on me when I'm talking to you. I am an itch! Where do you think you're going? I don't have to listen to you anymore! You bastard! Son of a bitch!
I'm sorry, Father. I'm so sorry.
Son of a bitch! Pino! I'm sorry! Pino! I'm sorry! Pino! Pino! Oh God, what have I done?
I didn't mean to cut you off there, Brian, but I wanted to show that because it was great. Was that you falling down the stairs?
Hell no. But I got to tell you guys, that is some Joan Crawford level camp right there, man. That is, I am proud to have that scene in the lexicon of my work because I can stand right up there with the great Joan Crawford. Eulogy will appreciate that. Anyway, man, that's intense. That brings back so many memories. I haven't seen that scene in so long.
So what was that scene like as far as like having to battle Mickey Rooney? Was there a lot of choreography for that?
Oh yeah. It's really, absolutely. It was really highly choreographed. I mean, I remember this moment when I put my hand up and catch his fist and then, knock him across the floor or whatever. That was a really amazing scene. I mean, even in that scene, you can see what a great actor he is. He just is right there in that moment. He's really living it. You would think that he really was drunk. I mean, but like in a belligerent way. Yeah, he's such a good actor. And my favorite story about that scene, we run down into the basement, right? But the basement is actually built on the stage level, so we were actually on a catwalk that was built on the sound stage, and the catwalk was really rickety, and it was built on the sound stage. And then on action, we run down through that door that you see to stage level. So the basement is stage level, and the trap door was fake. They cut away and did a different scene. So we're actually suspended up on a catwalk before we run down into the basement. Well, to have Mickey Rooney on this film, they had to have a lot of insurance. Whenever they have a big actor on the film, the production has to have a huge amount of insurance, because if something happens to that actor, Mickey Rooney especially, they can't complete the film. So they had like $100,000 in insurance on the guy. So if anything happened to Mickey, they had to pay out a lot of money. Well, Mickey knew that. So we did like 18 takes running down the stairs. That's my favorite part of that scene, is when we're running down the stairs. And while we're standing on the catwalk up there, it kind of swayed a little bit. And Mickey would go, "Hey, watch this." And he'd start tap dancing on the catwalk. Right? And the catwalk would start swaying back and forth like this, right? And the first AD would run. I remember he'd run up to the guy and he'd go, Mr. Rooney, if you don't mind, could you stop that, please? Could you stop that? And he got the biggest kick out of like kind of effing with the crew a little bit, like, Anyway.
Do you know why there was never a sixth film? I mean, this was in the age of the home video, I know.
Yeah.
So I know 3, 4, and 5, probably 2 went to home video as well. But I'm not sure on that one. But I know 3, 4, and 5 did. And so was the initial reaction to this not good? Or do you know why the franchise kind of stopped here?
I think it's interesting. I think that the initial reaction, it went to video. It went straight to video, and it took a long time for it to find its audience. And I guess they just there were never any money people interested in continuing the franchise. It was not a huge financial success, and it's almost like Pumpkinhead in Society, where it took like 10, 15 years for people to find them and start watching them late at night and like really enjoying them. So when they first came out, back in '92, I think it was when it was released, I think it just got lost in the melees of direct-to-video stuff. Yeah, that's all I can figure, Richard. If a producer is ever interested in making something, they'll find a way to make it. So I think the franchise just kind of fizzled out and died, but I'm really proud that I'm the swan song.
Well, and that's kind of the beauty of cult, whenever something becomes a cult classic.
Yeah.
It's things like the conventions that we do. It's like all these people come together, and it's like a movie is reborn again, discovered by a whole new audience.
Oh, I can't thank you guys enough for having me out to FrankenCon last year and the different shows that have resulted from that, and finding all these fans of Pumpkinhead and Silent Night 5 and Society. I had no idea. I really had no idea. And so many people are out there who love this movie and watch it every year. And it's fun. I mean, you see the clips. Like, it's super fun. I can kind of see. I haven't seen those clips in a long time. But, yeah, for a lot of movies, it takes a long time for them to find their audience, especially movies in our genre.
Yeah.
But a lot of movies, yeah.
Was it Screaming Mad Dog George that did the effects for this?
Well, he did.
Yeah, Screaming Mad Dog did the effects.
Okay.
He also did the effects for Society.
Yeah, that's what I knew he did Society, so.
Yeah.
But with Usna, I guess it all makes sense to keep the same people if you can,
Yeah. You always work with people that you can trust and people that you've worked with before. That's kind of how our industry is. It's, I'm still in the business very much, and it's still that way. You work with people who you have long relationships with. You work with people who will do the job and show up and deliver for you. And you work with people who you have good relationships with, so you have good relationships on set. So I see why he worked with the same people again and again. I hope I get to see him again soon. We've been communicating again now that the movies are back in the zeitgeist. So I hope I get to see him again soon. I
do want to ask how long it took you to get into the, I guess, final cost, the final get up, the makeup and everything.
How did that work? Was it a combination of makeup and just foam piecings?
It was a full body Ken doll without a penis. Although I suppose Ken doesn't have a penis anyway, so it doesn't matter. It was a full body Ken doll. It took me 4 hours to get into makeup. Once I got into the body, now in a lot of the movie, I'm not in the suit. Right? In a lot of the movie, it's just me, because you're not really supposed to know that he's a robot or whatever. But in those scenes where you finally see the full body suit, it took me 4 hours to get into the makeup and the suit. And George cast my whole body, and then he built, the different body parts. I don't know if you can see that, but he built the different body parts, the ball joints, and under that I'm wearing a black jumpsuit. And it took me 4 hours, so I had to get there at 5 o'clock in the morning for an 8 a.m. start. Once they put me in the suit, I really couldn't bend at the waist. So they built this special apparatus. It's like this big, like exercise chair, like that you do like leg lifts in. And in between takes, I would prop up. And I've got some funny behind the scene pictures, actually, I can send you guys. They'd prop me up in this thing, and I would be standing on this, just like this, on this big board. And back then I used to smoke. So somebody would bring me a cigarette, and I'm trying to smoke and trying to like drink my lunch. So once I got into that full gear, I couldn't do anything. I could really barely move in it. So the broom down the back was nothing compared to what the actual costume was. But it was so cool. I mean, to go get a fitting with Screaming at George and get like the whole body cast made. They had to do it with my face because I take my face off in part of the movie. It was really amazing. It's why I love our genre, is that kind of creativity. And you guys remember, Pumpkinhead, that one, Silent Night 5, even Society, that's all before digital effects. So everything you're seeing in those movies is practical. Everything. And that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, the new Star Wars franchise is doing a mix of practical and digital. And digital's gotten really good now. But, I mean, back then, there was such craftsmanship. I mean, George sculpted that suit. He sculpted my face. So that was really cool. And my favorite thing was to hang, in all my movies, has been to hang out in the effects trailers and see the artistry that goes into making that stuff. I mean, that was just amazing.
Pumpkinhead, I mean, the design of Pumpkinhead is still amazing. And just watching that film, knowing it's not digital, is really awesome just to see how they utilize the environment to enhance Pumpkinhead. Oh, and, you know, there's probably more creativity coming into it without digital effects.
Yeah, I think the effects artists, because a lot of the guys who worked on Pumpkinhead are still working today, and I think they've adapted to digital, and they use this as a new tool that's available to them, and enhance, and they've, you know, used it to enhance their craft. But I think they all love sculpting. I mean, I think that's really what it's all about. And by the way, Richard, Pumpkinhead says, "Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Richard. Merry Christmas." Yeah, it's a classic creature. Yeah, I do too. I appreciate them both. Digital's gotten a lot better.
Well, Brian, I'm so grateful you came on here and just spent the evening with us. I sort of a little on the spot though, but does anybody have any questions that they want to ask Brian while we have them? You don't have to. I know it's awkward. But
people don't like asking questions. That's what I've learned from doing panels.
Yeah,
in reality, they're like, you guys talk. That's what you do for a living.
Yeah, don't be shy.
All right, Brian. Well, thank you for being a part of this Christmas special Trash Talk.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. That will air on Tingler and on our YouTube and all that. But yeah, I want to give you final words of wisdom or holiday cheer you'd like to give people.
Well, I mean, a lot of our fans in this genre also aspire to act or to direct or to express their creativity in some way. And I would just say, you know, stay true to your creative vision, guys, whatever that is. If it's writing, if it's acting, if it's performing, stick with it. Your creative self is a lifelong friend, as Tom Hanks said. And it's going to change and grow with you as you grow and change. But as long as you honor it, it's never too late to realize your creative vision. And be happy in life, you guys. I mean, that's the main thing. Find a way to be happy. My greatest wish for you all, Matt, Richard, all you guys out there, is that, all you guys out there, I wish I was there with you guys. I wish I was there in the coffee shop. I'd buy you all a drink. But my greatest wish is that you have a warm and happy holiday, that you find peace and happiness in the new year. And let's stay kind. You know, let's have fun. Let's make movies. Let's enjoy our movies. And let's be kind to one another as we move forward in life. There's nothing that means anything more than kindness and listening and being there for each other.
Amazing, Brian. We love having you around. You will be at Bride of FrankenCon. That's on June 9th and 10th. We can't wait to have you for that. And as for Trash Talk, we are ending the show. And we'll just say keep it bloody.
Because somebody has to. I'm your boy now.
I'm your
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for trash talking my movie. Flattering.
Joe Bob returns to East Tennessee for 2 events over a 3-day extravaganza brought to you by FrankenCon and Orbit DVD. Starting with How Rednecks Saved Hollywood. Spend a fast and furious 2 hours with America's drive-in movie critic as he uses over 200 clips and stills to review the history of rednecks in American cinema as told through classics of both grindhouse and mainstream movies. A separate ticketed event taking place the day before Bride of FrankenCon on Thursday, June 8th. With the exception of FrankenCon Super VIP ticket holders who get the first 2 rows to How Rednecks Saved Hollywood and a ticket to Bride of FrankenCon Horror Convention taking place on Friday, June 9th and Saturday, June 10th, with additional perks like first 2 rows to all screening activities, panels, as well as early access to Bride of FrankenCon, a custom t-shirt, merch, and much more. FrankenCon exploded on the scene in 2022. In 2023, it's a whole new world of cons and monsters, as Bride of FrankenCon is set to be the biggest horror convention in Tennessee, with superstars from some of the biggest horror franchises of all time, directors, cult legends, film screenings, live commentaries, panels, vendors, and much more. And joining Joe Bob is the one and only Darcy the Mail Girl. Be on the lookout for announcements throughout the year and visit us at frankencontn.com and FrankenConTN on Facebook and Instagram. Super VIP tickets go on sale Friday, July 29th. This ticket is the only ticket that gets you in the door for both How Rednecks Saved Hollywood event and Bride of FrankenCon. For more info and tickets, visit us at FrankenConTN.com.